you're a little guy like me, you're probably gonna get your ass knocked out and somebody's gonna take your gold bar. What's up, YouTube? My name is Adam Wilson. I am co-host of Broke Man Finance, a channel where you're not going to find $1 million portfolio, nor are we trying to sell you any kind of scheme or money-making pyramid. We are regular guys just trying to make some money and share that journey with all of you. Today we're going to talk about 10 money myths that need to go away. Stay tuned till the end because that's going to be the most controversial one, and I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. First things first, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It helps this algorithm out tremendously. We're trying to grow this channel and keep bringing you content. All right, the first money myth I want to talk about is one that most people do not realize. I don't need a will. If I die, my spouse gets everything anyway. This is not true. This is not true at all. In some states, if you don't have a child in common and you don't have that will in place, if one of you die, whichever spouse dies, their parents get half of the property and assets. Let's say you have a business with your spouse, or we can use the house as an example. If your husband dies, if your wife dies, their parents are going to get half of that equity. If you sell that house and make any money off of it, they get 50% of it. Like I mentioned, this varies state to state, but you don't want to be in a position where you're finding out the hard way. Hopefully they do the right thing and just sign it over. But if there's some crackheads or some assholes, they can make your life miserable. Just make sure you get the will done. It's not that expensive. It's going to save you so much headache and heartache in the long run. Secondly, I hear this all the time, but people say, well, you have to be rich to invest. You're only going to get this amount on a dividend. It's not very much, but it adds up. The thing is, it's so convenient nowadays to invest with all these online platforms, Robinhood, M1, Webull, Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade. It goes on and on. There's not even transaction fees really anymore. Everybody's getting rid of them. Now, all these platforms are moving towards fractional shares. Of course, if you follow this channel, I use Robinhood and I love their fractional shares because I can own a $1,000 stock like Tesla or a $2,500 stock like Amazon, and I can put $1 in them and still get those returns. So whether I have $500 in there or $500,000 in there, I'm still getting returns on that investment. You don't have to be rich, you just got to get started. The third one is on one of the worst investments you can make. Everybody tries to argue with me over being able to pay cash for a car, and they say you're always going to have a car payment. That's not true. You don't have to have a car payment. You don't. You just have to buy a car you can actually afford. If you cannot afford to pay for it with cash twice, that's my rule. You have your own rules. That's my rule. Then you can't afford it. But the problem is nobody wants other people to see their ass driving a $1,000 car. But that's what you can afford. That's really what you can afford. Otherwise, you're just giving people money in an interest rate. But if you're trying to impress people for the gram, then by all means, hey, ball out. I hope your interest rate's 20% and it's your dream car. Please, by all means, pay $70,000 for a $25,000 car. All right, let's keep talking about cars for a second. I've heard the argument that they're going to get a 0% interest on this brand new car. Oh, but there's no interest rate, right? So it's okay. No. In 4 years, that car is going to depreciate from whatever price you're purchasing it at new, almost 60%. Therefore, you're better off going and getting that used car, but you're better off paying cash, save your money, pay down your debt, save your money, and you will accumulate more cash faster than you actually realize, and you can go pay cash for that car. But get what you can afford. If you got a payment, you can't afford it. Now, I get it. If you're in a tight spot and your car's blowing up, you're a single parent, you don't have this enormous savings account to just go purchase a reliable car. I get it. Certain situations dictate that we got to get that car payment. I understand, but that's not always the case. If you have a decent car, just because it's not the latest and greatest, keep driving it. More millionaires have little rinky-dink cars than anybody else because it's reliable. They see the value in just keeping that car, and they don't go and waste money and just get a depreciating liability. Next on the list, and I'm gonna get so much flack for this list. I'm ready for it though. I really don't give a shit. So gold, I hear this all the time. Gold being a great investment. I don't see it. Gold has traditionally, they've had some gains recently, they have, but historically, they've barely done better than inflation and with a whole lot more volatility. And if the economy crashes, what are you going to do with your gold bar? If you're a little guy like me, you're probably going to get your ass knocked out and somebody's going to take your gold bar. You gonna take your gold? You're gonna take your gold to the gas station and hand it to the guy? You're gonna weigh it? Yeah, it's real. You get you 6 gallons of gas. Like, what are you gonna do with it? Seriously. Ain't nobody gonna give a damn about your gold, bullion, bars, whatever the hell you got. What they are gonna give a damn about is bottled water, soup, gasoline, ammo, skill sets. That's what you're gonna be. That's what you're gonna be bartering with. But hey, buy all the gold you want in the world. Put it around your neck. Ball out. Go nuts. To each their own. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section about your gold. I just don't look at it as a viable option if the economy collapses. I'm sorry to tell you that. That's just being realistic. All right, next on the list is not necessarily a myth, but a huge mistake I think a lot of people make. The lottery is a good investment. No, it's not. You know who plays the lottery? Poor people. People say, well, you can't win the lottery if you don't play it. And yeah, that's true. That's the way it works with pretty much anything. But the chances of you actually winning the lottery are so effing low. For flip's sake, quit wasting your money. Las Vegas wasn't built on giving away money. It's just a gamble. Quit wasting your money or you're going to stay broke. That's just what it is. We've all played. I've played just for, shits and giggles. It's kind of fun every now and then. But people, honest to God, will take their paychecks, go and just have their fingers crossed because they're desperate. To be honest, it's really kind of sad. So no, the lottery is not a good investment. I would put my money in a money market account, Roth IRA. Just the stock market in general is probably a better gamble than the lottery. Next on the list, we're talking about credit cards. Whenever I went to college, I went to college about as broke as you can get. The only reason I was even able to maintain up there is because the housing was kind of paid for and I had a meal plan. Other than that, I was broke as shit. I walk into the brickyard at NC State and there are tables set up friggin' everywhere for credit card applications. And for good reason. They're just preying on these college kids. I didn't know nothing about interest rates and what it would do to my credit. It would just be these random $500 cards, and I thought, yeah, I'll get a job and pay those later on. But right now, I need some jeans. I need some clothes. I ain't got nothing. I was trying to meet girls. I was trying to hook up. I didn't want to walk around and look like some broke ass dude, even though that's what I was. I wanted to be able to take a girl out on a date, for God's sakes. So I put myself in this position, and I had all these credit cards. They all went completely to hell. I ended up with all this bad debt, and the advice I got was just settle the cards. Call them and see if they'll settle. So I'd call them up and say, hey, I'll give you $250 on this $600, $700, $800 card, and sometimes they would take it. Now, I thought my credit was fine once I got that debt paid. It still shows up as settled paid debt. That's barely better than still having the debt. It still hurts your credit. Do not just automatically, if you're in a bad spot and you have to settle your cards, fine, I get it. But for God's sakes, if you're really trying to get your credit score better, figure out some type of payment plan. Dave Ramsey has a snowball plan. It does work. And I could go into a whole spiel about why you should attack the highest interest rates. But most people that can do that are never in the position to have to do that because they're already good with money. So the snowball plan that Dave Ramsey has actually works because it's attributed more to people that are bad with money, and psychologically there is something to it. But if you're trying to get a good credit score, settling your credit cards is not a good option. The next on the list is people believe keeping their emergency fund in a big bank savings account is the safe thing to do. Personal opinion here, feel free again in the comments, but I think of emergency fund as just that, an emergency. It's not something that you're just gonna grab in the short term over and over and over all the time. So if I have an emergency fund, I still want to be able to gain access to it, but I still want it to work for me. I may not be putting it in individual stocks, but if I have it in some kind of money market account or something that's that's giving me a return that is going to be more of a long-term investment than a short-term. By keeping it in that big bank savings account, I'm giving my money away through inflation. I've got to offset that inflation. So I put it in something that's giving me a return on my money, because it's not, again, it's not something that I need all the time really quick. It's something that if I lost my job and I need several months of salary, if something catastrophic happens with health or my residence, whatever, I need to be able to gain access to it. But that's an emergency. Otherwise, I just keep $1,000 in an account somewhere that for there's overdraft or just something on the short term. Next on the list is staying on the emergency fund, but piggybacking off of credit cards. Whenever I talk about emergency funds, some people have no savings, no emergency funds whatsoever, because they're like, well, I got credit cards. I got several credit cards that's totals $30,000. I'm good. Are you though? So let me throw out a scenario to you. Let's say you get fired tomorrow. Is it possible in this economy right now? 100%. How much are you going to need from those credit cards to survive 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months before you can find another job? All those credit card swipes are going to add up really quick. Now, start thinking about the interest rates on those credit cards. Some credit cards are 15, 18, 22%. Could you imagine if you racked up $25,000 in credit card debt and you still don't have a job? It's just going to continue to compound, and that debt's going to continue to grow. Credit cards are not an emergency fund. It's an absolute last point of no return. So if you don't have any money in any kind of savings account, even a big bank account, that I don't advise, and again, I'm no financial advisor, but for God's sakes, put something in an account for some kind of emergency. A credit card is not for emergencies. That's an absolute last straw. Last but not least, and this is the one I want to hear your comments on, because this always brings up so much controversy. Is your house an asset or is your house a liability? Now, I'm going to give you my opinion, not saying it's the right opinion, it's just mine. But again, they're like buttholes, everybody's got one. I want to hear your opinion, So I look at it like this. I look at assets as something that is bringing me money, is bringing me value, income, something that I own. I look at debt as a liability or something that's going to depreciate. I don't believe having a car is an asset unless I'm using that car to make money that's beating that depreciation. That to me is an asset, not a liability. But people will argue with me and say, but I own my house. I mean, it's appreciated in value. I own it. It's my house. Bullshit. No, it ain't. If it's your house and you own it outright, okay, cool. At that point, whenever you actually own it, you have that deed and it's yours, okay, it's an asset. But if you're paying payments on it, you have a mortgage, you don't own that house. The bank owns it. If you don't believe me, quit paying your payments. See what happens. See if some guys show up and make you leave your house for not paying. I bet it happens. But feel free to not pay your payments no more since you own it. That to me makes it a liability and not an asset. So it's kind of twofold for me. If you own it or it's making you money like a rental house, it's an asset. If you own it outright though, if you're still paying payments on it, you don't own it, then it's a liability. It's debt. Debt is a liability. Again, that's just my opinion on it. That's been 10 total money myths, misconceptions, whatever you want to call it, that need to die. But again, please like the video, hit the subscribe, hit that bell notification so you know exactly when we're dropping videos, and leave some comments. I'd love to hear your own either mistakes, myths, misconceptions in the comments. Let's talk. I'm happy to hear your opinions. If you can change my mind, by all means, please do. Take care.